The sun was setting over the dusty plains of the distant planet Zorath, painting the sky with deep orange and red colors. The small settlement where humans and aliens lived side by side was quiet now. But tonight something was about to change. Something new and strange was coming for James. A young human man who always felt out of place among the many alien creatures around him. James was not very tall, and he often felt small compared to the towering aliens he saw every day. They all had muscles and sharp eyes, and many laughed when they saw how different James looked. But James never cared much about their teasing. He worked hard, learned quickly, and hoped to find his own place in this strange world. One evening, as James walked near the marketplace, he heard loud voices and laughter coming from a crowd gathered near the arena. Curious, he moved closer to see what was happening. The crowd was watching a tiny figure moving quickly and confidently inside the arena. It was an alien girl no taller than James's waist, but with a strong presence that made everyone stop and stare. She was the famous tiny alien warrior named Kira, known across the settlement for her speed and sharp fighting skills. Despite her size, no one doubted her power, and her sharp tongue made her both loved and feared by many. Tonight, she was teasing someone new, and that someone was James. "Hey, human," Kira called out, her voice clear and sharp. "Is that really all you have? Look at you, so big and slow. I bet you can't even lift my sword." Her eyes sparkled with mischief as the crowd laughed. The teasing was loud, and everyone watched eagerly for the human's reply. James felt his face heat up, but he stood his ground. "I might be bigger, but I am not slow, little warrior," he said quietly. "Maybe I can surprise you." Kira laughed again, a sound both playful and challenging. "I like your spirit, human. Let's see if you can back up your words," she said, holding out her small sword. The crowd grew louder, excited to see what would happen next. Some shouted encouragement, others doubted James, but the tiny warrior was already dancing around him, ready to show off her skills. James took a deep breath, feeling a mix of nerves and excitement. He knew this challenge was not just about strength or fighting. It was about respect, and maybe something more. The tiny alien warrior was teasing him. Yes, but there was something in her eyes that told him she wanted to see what he was truly made of. Kira moved closer, her steps quick and light. "Come on, human, show me what you've got. Or will you just stand there and look like a big joke?" Her words were sharp, but James felt a strange calm inside. Maybe this was the chance he needed to prove himself. As they prepared for the challenge, a strange feeling filled the air. The sun disappeared completely, and the sky darkened. Stars began to twinkle far above, shining like tiny diamonds in the night. But in the silence of that moment, James felt a small shiver run down his spine. The challenge was about to begin. But no one knew how much that night would change everything. For James, for Kira, and maybe even for the whole settlement. The tiny alien warrior who teased him about his size was about to become someone very important in his life. The crowd fell silent, waiting for the first move. Kira's eyes locked onto James's with a fierce look. "Ready, human?" she asked softly, her smile gone for a moment. James nodded, his heart beating fast. "Ready," he said, and in that moment, the world seemed to hold its breath. No one could guess what the first night would bring. But the teasing was just the beginning. Something deeper was growing between them. A challenge not only of strength, but of trust, respect, and perhaps even friendship. The tiny alien warrior and the human were about to begin a story that would change them both forever. And as the stars shone above, their first night together started with a simple question. Who would change the other first? Asterisk. The sun was setting over the dusty plains of the distant planet Zorath, painting the sky with deep orange and red colors. The small settlement where humans and aliens lived side by side was quiet now. But tonight something was about to change. Something new and strange was coming for James. A young human man who always felt out of place among the many alien creatures around him. James was not very tall, and he often felt small compared to the towering aliens he saw every day. They all had muscles and sharp eyes, and many laughed when they saw how different James looked. But James never cared much about their teasing. He worked hard, learned quickly, and hoped to find his own place in this strange world. One evening, as James walked near the marketplace, he heard loud voices and laughter coming from a crowd gathered near the arena. Curious, he moved closer to see what was happening. The crowd was watching a tiny figure moving quickly and confidently inside the arena. It was an alien girl no taller than James's waist, but with a strong presence that made everyone stop and stare. She was the famous tiny alien warrior named Kira, known across the settlement for her speed and sharp fighting skills. Despite her size, no one doubted her power, and her sharp tongue made her both loved and feared by many. Tonight, she was teasing someone new, and that someone was James. "Hey, human," Kira called out, her voice clear and sharp. "Is that really all you have? Look at you, so big and slow. I bet you can't even lift my sword." Her eyes sparkled with mischief as the crowd laughed. The teasing was loud, and everyone watched eagerly for the human's reply. James felt his face heat up, but he stood his ground. "I might be bigger, but I am not slow, little warrior," he said quietly. "Maybe I can surprise you." Kira laughed again, a sound both playful and challenging. "I like your spirit, human. Let's see if you can back up your words," she said, holding out her small sword. The crowd grew louder, excited to see what would happen next. Some shouted encouragement, others doubted James, but the tiny warrior was already dancing around him, ready to show off her skills. James took a deep breath, feeling a mix of nerves and excitement. He knew this challenge was not just about strength or fighting. It was about respect and maybe something more. The tiny alien warrior was teasing him. Yes, but there was something in her eyes that told him she wanted to see what he was truly made of. Kira moved closer, her steps quick and light. "Come on, human, show me what you've got. Or will you just stand there and look like a big joke?" Her words were sharp, but James felt a strange calm inside. Maybe this was the chance he needed to prove himself. As they prepared for the challenge, a strange feeling filled the air. The sun disappeared completely, and the sky darkened. Stars began to twinkle far above, shining like tiny diamonds in the night. But in the silence of that moment, James felt a small shiver run down his spine. The challenge was about to begin. But no one knew how much that night would change everything. For James, for Kira, and maybe even for the whole settlement. The tiny alien warrior who teased him about his size was about to become someone very important in his life. The crowd fell silent, waiting for the first move. Kira's eyes locked onto James's with a fierce look. "Ready, human?" she asked softly, her smile gone for a moment. James nodded, his heart beating fast. "Ready," he said, and in that moment, the world seemed to hold its breath. No one could guess what the first night would bring. But the teasing was just the beginning. Something deeper was growing between them. A challenge not only of strength, but of trust, respect, and perhaps even friendship. The tiny alien warrior and the human were about to begin a story that would change them both forever. And as the stars shone above, their first night together started with a simple question. Who would change the other first? After the danger had passed, the quiet of the night returned to the settlement. But James and Kira were both wide awake. Their small camp glowed softly in the moonlight. Surrounded by alien plants that shimmered faintly, the air was cool and still, perfect for sharing stories and secrets. James sat by the fire, watching the tiny alien warrior carefully. She was no longer the teasing girl from the arena, but someone different, softer, thoughtful, and curious. Kira looked up at the stars and sighed deeply. "Do you ever feel like you don't belong, James?" she asked quietly, her voice barely louder than a whisper. James was surprised. "I do," he answered. "Sometimes I feel small and lost here. Like I don't fit in with all these tall, strong aliens." Kira nodded. "I am small, but I fight like a giant. Yet sometimes I feel weak inside," she admitted. The silence between them was comfortable. The kind that only true strangers can share when they start to understand each other. James reached out and offered her a small piece of earth chocolate he carried with him. "Try this," he said with a smile. Kira took it hesitantly and tasted the sweet, rich flavor, her eyes lighting up in surprise. "It's delicious," she said. That small moment broke the last of their walls, and soon they were talking freely, sharing stories of pain, hope, and dreams. Kira told James about her childhood, how she had trained from a young age to be a warrior, expected to be fierce and never show fear. "But sometimes, I wish I could be just a child," she said softly. "Not a warrior or a weapon." James listened carefully and shared his own story. "Back on Earth, I was always told I was too small or weak to matter," he said. "But I wanted to prove that strength comes from the heart, not the body." Kira looked at him with new respect. "You carry a strength I don't see in many of my people," she said. As the night deepened, they grew closer, the stars above shining like silent witnesses to their new friendship. But something more was growing, a feeling neither of them could yet name. The teasing and challenge from before seemed so far away now. Suddenly, Kira's sharp ears caught a faint noise behind the camp. She stood quickly, alert and ready. "We are not alone," she whispered. "There is danger nearby." James stood beside her, his muscles tense, ready to protect. But this time, the threat was different. A soft rustling came from the bushes, and out stepped a small creature. Unlike any James had seen, it was a tiny alien animal, trembling and scared, with eyes full of pain. Kira's face softened. "This is a Schlera," she said, "a creature that lives only in the dark forests. It must be lost." James reached out slowly, and the Schlera didn't run away. Instead, it moved closer, trusting him in a way that surprised them both. Kira smiled. "You have a way with the creatures here," she said. "Maybe you are different from other humans." They decided to take the Schlera with them for the night, hoping to find its home in the morning. As they cared for the small animal, their hands touched briefly, sending a warm spark through both of them. Neither said a word, but their eyes met, and a silent understanding passed between. The night grew colder, but by the fire, James and Kira felt a new kind of warmth. The warrior who teased and the human who felt small were now partners in a strange new world. They talked about their fears. Kira's fear of failing her people, James's fear of never being accepted, and in sharing those fears, they found strength in each other. But their peace was fragile, for somewhere far from the camp, eyes watched them closely, plotting to break the bond that was growing. An old enemy of Kira's tribe had heard of her alliance with a human, and he did not approve. He believed aliens and humans should never trust each other, and he planned to end their story before it began. Back at the camp, James and Kira lay side by side under the wide, endless sky. The stars blinked down at them, and the tiny Schlera curled up between them. "Safe for now, but danger was not far away," Kira whispered. "James, whatever happens, remember this night." Her voice was steady but full of meaning. "This night changed everything for me." James nodded, holding her hand gently. "Me too, Kira, me too." And as the night wrapped them in its quiet embrace, the first real threads of trust and friendship wove between human and alien, a bond that would be tested in ways neither could imagine. But for now, under the stars, they were just two souls finding light in the darkness. The morning sun rose over the settlement, casting golden light on the strange alien landscape. But the peaceful start did not last long. James and Kira woke to a tense feeling in the air. The quiet whispers of the wind carried warnings they could not ignore. Kira's sharp eyes scanned the horizon as she stood outside her small camp. "Something is wrong," she said, her voice serious and low. "I can feel it in my bones." James looked at her, sensing the change. "What is coming?" he asked, ready for whatever challenge lay ahead. Kira's face hardened. "Enemies from the rival tribe are moving toward us. They want to stop what is happening between humans and aliens here." She said it with a mix of anger and worry. "They Believe that no human should be trusted, especially not by a warrior like me. James tightened his fists. Then we have to face them, together. Kira nodded. Yes, but this time, it's more than a game or a test. It's a fight for survival and for what we believe in. The settlement began to prepare. Alarms ringing out as the rival tribe's warriors approached like a dark storm. The humans and aliens gathered in groups, readying weapons and shields. Everyone knew this battle was about more than land. It was about trust, respect, and a new future. James and Kira stood side by side near the front line. The tiny alien warrior barely visible next to the taller humans, yet her eyes burned with fierce determination. Don't underestimate me because of my size, she warned. I will protect what matters. The enemy warriors arrived with loud cries, their faces fierce and angry. The battle began suddenly. The air filled with the sound of clashing metal and war cries. James moved quickly, his training guiding his actions. He blocked a heavy blow meant for Kira and pushed the attacker back. Kira danced through the fight, her small sword flashing as she struck precise blows. Despite her size, she moved like lightning, her skill and courage inspiring those around her. The humans and friendly aliens fought harder, seeing the warrior and the human standing together. But the rival tribe had a secret weapon, a large beast bred for war. Taller and stronger than any creature James had seen, the beast charged into the battlefield, roaring and smashing everything in its path. The crowd scattered in fear, but James stood firm. Kira looked to James. We have to stop that beast, or everything will be lost. She climbed onto a nearby rock, calling out to the fighters, distract it. I will try to reach its weak spot. James nodded and moved forward, dodging attacks to lead the beast's attention away. Kira ran swiftly, her small size helping her avoid the beast's deadly claws. She found a narrow gap between the beast's armor plates, a spot vulnerable to a sharp strike. Taking a deep breath, Kira leapt and plunged her sword deep into the beast's side. The beast howled in pain, stumbling and falling to the ground. The battlefield fell silent for a moment. Then cheers erupted from their side. The beast was defeated, and the rival warriors began to retreat, beaten and scared. Kira climbed down and ran to James, her face shining with sweat and triumph. We did it, she said. Breathless but smiling, James smiled back. You were incredible, Kira. She shook her head. No, we were incredible together. The moment was powerful. The tiny alien warrior and the human had proven their bond through fire and battle, but the fight had changed something inside them. James felt a new confidence growing, not just in himself but in their future. Kira's respect for the human had deepened beyond words. She saw him not just as a stranger or a challenge, but as a true partner. As the crowd celebrated, Kira pulled James aside, her eyes serious once more. This was only the beginning, she warned. More dangers will come, and our enemies will not give up easily. James nodded. Then we will face them, side by side. The sun climbed higher, and the settlement slowly returned to its usual rhythm. But the night's battle had left its mark, changing the way everyone saw James and Kira, from teasing and challenges to trust and friendship, and now to warriors united against a common enemy. The tiny alien warrior who once mocked the human size had become his strongest ally. And James, once unsure of his place, had found a new purpose and courage he never thought possible. The true test had come and passed, but the journey was far from over. Together, they would face the challenges ahead, their bond unbroken and stronger than ever. The battle was over, but the air still carried the smell of smoke and tension. James and Kira stood together, watching the settlement begin to rebuild. Their faces were tired, but their spirits had changed in ways neither could ignore. For days after the fight, the tiny alien warrior and the human man spent more time together. Their conversations grew longer, filled with laughter, shared memories, and quiet moments that felt heavier than words. Kira no longer teased James about his size. Instead, she looked at him with something new, something warm. One evening, As the twin moons rose in the sky, they sat side by side on a hill overlooking the settlement. The stars glittered like scattered jewels, and the world felt still and endless. "You saved my life," Kira said softly. "More than once now." James smiled. "I would do it again." Kira looked at him, her fierce eyes softened. "Why do you stay here, James? Among aliens who don't always accept you." James took a deep breath. "Because I believe there is more to this place than what we see," he said. "And because I want to belong somewhere, maybe with you." Her cheeks flushed a gentle shade of violet, a sign of deep emotion among her people. Kira reached out and took his hand in hers. "I never thought I would trust a human like this," she admitted. "But you have shown me strength beyond size." Their hands fit together, naturally, like pieces made to complete each other. The tiny warrior's touch was gentle but firm, and James felt a wave of comfort he had never known. "Trust is rare here," James said. "But I want to protect you, Kira, no matter what comes." The bond between them grew stronger with each passing day, but not everyone in the settlement was happy. Some aliens whispered behind their backs, calling their friendship a dangerous mistake. A human and an alien warrior? "It can't last," they said. Even Kira's own tribe was divided, some proud of her bravery, others fearing she had betrayed their traditions. One day, an elder approached Kira, his eyes cold. "You risk everything by trusting a human," he warned. "Our people will not forget this." Kira stood tall, refusing to bow. "I choose my own path," she said firmly. "James is not just a human, he is my friend, my partner." The elder left, but the threat in his words lingered. Like a dark cloud, James knew their bond was more than friendship. But he did not rush or force anything. He wanted Kira to feel safe and ready, not pushed by fear or anger. One quiet night, as they sat near the glowing plants of her camp, James looked into her eyes and whispered, "Whatever happens, I am here." Kira smiled, her heart pounding with a mix of fear and hope. "I feel the same," she said. "You are not like the others. You see me for who I am, not just a warrior or a tiny alien." Their closeness became a refuge from the doubts and dangers around them. In each other's company, they found a place where size, race, or past did not matter. Only the bond they shared, strong, honest, and growing deeper every day. One evening, James surprised Kira with a small gift, a necklace made from bright stones he had found in the nearby river. "For you," he said shyly, "to remember that you are never alone." Kira's eyes glistened with tears. "It's beautiful," she whispered, touching the stones gently. "Thank you, James." They sat together in silence, feeling the weight of their unspoken feelings. The world outside was full of challenges. But here, beneath the twin moons, they had something precious, something worth fighting for. But even as their bond deepened, the shadows of the past were not far away. The rival tribe was planning again, and whispers of rebellion stirred in the dark corners of the settlement. Kira knew the coming days would test them more than any battle. Yet, with James by her side, she felt ready to face whatever came next. Their bond was not just about friendship or trust anymore. It was about hope. Hope that two very different beings could change their world together. And so, under the quiet glow of the alien stars, the tiny warrior and the human man held on to each other, preparing for the future with hearts full of courage and love. For they knew, whatever trials awaited, they would face them as one. Asterisk. The settlement was quiet as night fell again, the twin moons casting silver light over the alien world. James and Kira sat near the fire in her small camp, their faces glowing softly in the flickering flames. The air was cool, but a warmth grew between them that neither could ignore. For days, their bond had grown stronger through battles, shared fears, and quiet moments. But tonight felt different, heavier, like something was about to change. Kira looked at James, her violet eyes shining with a mix of courage and hesitation. "I want to tell you something," she said quietly, her voice trembling just a little. James reached out and took her hand gently. "Whatever it is, I'm here," he replied with a soft smile. She took a deep breath and began. My people expect me to be a warrior, strong and unbreakable, but I have always hidden a part of myself. James listened carefully as Kira spoke of her deepest fears. Her worry that being small meant she could never truly protect those she loved, that beneath her fierce exterior, she sometimes felt alone and fragile. James squeezed her hand and shared his own fears, of never truly belonging, of always feeling too small in a big world. Their hearts opened to each other in that quiet night, words flowing between them like a gentle river. And then, without a word, James leaned closer, his eyes searching hers for a sign. Kira did not pull away. The first touch was gentle, a soft brush of lips that sent a shiver through them both. The world seemed to pause as they found comfort and connection in each other's arms. For James and Kira, this was more than a moment. It was a beginning. As they held each other, the night wrapped around them like a shield, protecting their secret from the outside world. The teasing alien warrior and the uncertain human had found something rare and powerful, trust and love. But even in this peaceful moment, the weight of the world pressed close. Shadows of doubt and danger lurked beyond the camp, threats that would soon test their bond like never before after their night together. A quiet strength settled over them. Kira's confidence grew, not just as a warrior but as a partner, and James felt a courage he had never known. No longer small or lost, but whole and strong beside her. Yet, whispers spread through the settlement like wildfire. Rumors of their closeness stirred fear and anger in many. It cannot last, some said. A human and an alien warrior, it goes against everything. But James and Kira refused to hide or be ashamed. They faced the judgment together. Their bond a silent challenge to the fears of others. One evening, as they walked through the marketplace, Kira's hand found James's again, steady and sure. Their presence sparked whispers, but also glances of surprise and respect. Kira spoke softly. We have changed, James, and so has the world around us. James nodded. Whatever comes, I will stand by you, no matter what anyone says. Their first night had changed everything, not just their feelings but their futures, bound together by more than words or battles. They were ready to face the challenges ahead. As the twin moons shone bright, their story continued, stronger and more certain than ever. And in the silence of that alien night, two hearts beat as one, promising hope, courage, and a new beginning for them both. The dawn broke slowly over the settlement, soft light spilling across the alien landscape. James and Kira stood side by side on a small hill, looking out over the place that had changed both their lives forever. The air was fresh, filled with the promise of a new day, and with it, new beginnings. Their journey had been long and hard, from teasing and challenges to battles and secret nights. But now, something deeper had grown between them, a bond built on trust, courage, and hope. Kira, the tiny alien warrior who once mocked James's size, now walked proudly beside him, no longer just a fighter, but a partner. James felt his strength within himself he had never known. Not just the strength to fight, but the strength to love, to protect, and to believe in a future where differences did not divide. Look at how far we've come, James said softly, from strangers to allies, from teasing to something more. Kira smiled, her violet eyes shining bright. You taught me that size is only skin deep, she said. True strength comes from within. Together, they had faced enemies and doubts, yet their bond had only grown stronger, a symbol of what could happen when courage meets kindness. The settlement around them was changing too. Many who once doubted now watched with new eyes, seeing the human and the alien not as threats, but as leaders who could bring hope. Some aliens even approached James and Kira, offering support and friendship, a sign that old barriers were beginning to fall. But change was never easy, and not all were ready to accept this new path. Whispers of resistance still echoed, and shadows of old fears remained. Yet James and Kira stood firm, knowing that every step forward mattered, even if the road ahead was uncertain. They would walk it together, one day. Kira called a meeting of the settlement's leaders, her voice strong and clear. "We have a choice," she said. "To live divided or to unite as one." James stood beside her, adding, "Our strength is not in how tall or small we are, but in how we stand together." Their words sparked hope and courage in many hearts. The tiny alien warrior and the human man became symbols of unity and change. Their story inspired others to look beyond appearances and fear, to find strength in kindness, bravery in trust, and hope in connection. Together, they dreamed of a future where no one was judged by size or race. That future was not far off, because they had planted the seeds, nurtured them with courage and love. And as the twin moons rose once more, James and Kira knew their story was only beginning. New challenges would come, but so would new victories. Their bond was unbreakable, their strength unseen but real. And in that quiet moment, standing hand in hand beneath the endless sky, they felt the power of what they had built: a family, a home, a future, not defined by size or origin, but by heart and courage. A future where the tiny alien warrior and the human man could walk side by side, together, always.